What's up, everybody? Brett Okamoto from ESPN, and it is UFC Best Bets for the UFC Fight Night card this weekend. I am joined, as always, by James Krause. He is a UFC fighter. He's also one of the top coaches in the world over there at MMA, Glory MMA, excuse me. And then Nick Kalikas, he works at the sportsbook at Circa here in Las Vegas. We've been doing this for a while, this show, and we are on a hot streak, man, especially my guy James, man. This guy is just firing winners left and right. He did it again last week. A little bit of a, no, it wasn't that big of a favorite, actually, right? Giga Chikadze was,
I got him at 160, minus 160.
Minus 160. Giga looked great, obviously. 4 wins in 2020, now getting his 2021 started off right. Nick had a couple plays. Reyes, he had in the main event. Unfortunately, Reyes was on the receiving end of a nasty elbow that I'm sure we've all seen by now. And they also had Ian Kutalaba, who you pushed on that one. No harm done. We will we'll look for nothing but winners this weekend at the UFC Fight Night card. But it is. I wouldn't say it's. I mean, we're used to main events falling off, right? But it's not the card we expected. I was looking forward to talking to you guys about TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen. Instead, we get Marina Rodriguez versus Michelle Waterson. It's a 5-round fight. It was put together on short notice. It's being fought at 125 pounds instead of 115, even though I think, the result of this is going to impact the 115 rankings, not the 125, basically 2 strawweights who are agreeing not to cut weight. But that does create, I think, an interesting scenario to talk about from a betting standpoint, because it's a 5-round fight that was thrown together on short notice, and the fact that they're not cutting weight. So how does that impact the line? Michelle Waterson is the underdog here, plus 175. Marina Rodriguez, minus 200. Those are the lines that I was seeing this morning. Nick, let's start with you on where this line opened and sort of any of your initial thoughts about kind of some of the things that I mentioned, the different circumstances around this fight.
Well, the line opened minus 155 for Rodriguez. And right now, what we have over at Circa is actually around minus 200, I believe. Let me double check here. And it is currently minus 200 plus 175. So from minus 155 to minus 200, market wide, it did rise a little bit as well. I mean, Rodriguez coming off that stunning knockout over Amanda Ribas was just phenomenal. I think it brought her stock up to another level right now. And this is a great fight. I like the UFC putting this fight together because, like you said, both these ladies at 115 pounds have proven to be contenders. So this is an important fight for both. So I think there's going to be a lot of action coming in late, especially on fight day, when they realize the caliber of this fight.
James, are you surprised at all that, were you surprised at all where the line opened, that Marina's a minus 155, and now the fact that it's moving in her favor? Does that surprise you at all?
I mean, I'll be honest, I like where the line opened more than where I like it right now. Rodriguez is for sure tough, but man, Waterson's been in there with the who's who of women's MMA, especially in that division. So anytime you're going with a vet like that, especially 5 rounds over 3, I just don't like the line jump on that so much. I do think Rodriguez is going to win. I do think she's the more skilled fighter. But I just don't like the 5 rounds, and I don't like that the line jump so much. I don't agree with that. I like the line where it opened at, and I would probably play it there, but it's getting a little bit dog or pass situation for me there. But I like Rodriguez in that fight, but she's a little too pricey for me.
Stylistically or skills wise, James, why is she the favorite? Why is it her fight to lose, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she's just an extremely aggressive version of Waterson. I mean, they have different striking styles, but Rodriguez comes forward. She's got good power, for that division. She's got really good power. And in the past, Waterson has shown, that she can be a little hittable if you put pressure on her. So stylistically, I feel like Rodriguez is a tough matchup for her. But also, what I don't think people are giving Waterson the credit for is, she's been in there with the who's who of that division, and right now I think Rodriguez's stock is at its peak because she just knocked out Amanda Ribas. So, it's just really tough for me to, and I don't want to say she's unproven, but I haven't seen, remember we talked about like what I like to bet on, and consistency is what I like to bet on. I just haven't seen enough of her yet. Like over time, like, hey, is she going to continue to do this over time? I haven't seen enough of that yet for me just to go all in on her against a vet like Waterson.
Nick, when you're looking at a situation where, as James said, you have the experience advantages on Michelle's side. It's a 5-round fight. It's a main event. Could there be a situation at some point where, or just you personally, or just any kind of general advice where you think there will be value on Michelle if this line continues to tick up?
If it continues to tick up, absolutely. I mean, we just saw Waterson headline a 5-round main event as well, and she dug deep, and she ended up pulling out a very tough decision over Angela Hill, a very game Angela Hill. So I think that experience factor alone carries a lot. And then stylistically, if you see how she matches up with Rodriguez, like James said, I do think she's the better overall fighter because she, typically speaking, can keep the fight upright, and she's a better striker here. So I think she could do more damage along the way. But, I mean, the problems she's had in the past against grapplers. And, Karate Hottie is going to take the fight to the floor, even though she has good striking. She likes to utilize those kicks and her movement, but she's going to want to wrestle and get this fight to the floor. She's getting stronger. She's utilizing her wrestling more as her career progresses. So that's the danger aspect here. And that's where the value does open up on Waterson, because if the line keeps progressing up, I mean, her game plan, her path to victory is on the ground. She's going to look for it. Rodriguez has struggled and has gotten either a draw or been in tough spots where she was winning the fight, then she got taken down and it just got out grappled, and it made things tough for her. So I think that's what we're going to see Waterson try to do and implement that same game plan.
Yeah, and that's the last question I would have for you, James, on just the matchup itself. Is that do you see, or what value do you put on the fact that this is being fought at 125? Michelle Waterson used to cut down all the way to 105. Marina Rodriguez has had some trouble. It's clear that 115 is a tough cut for her. So I think she's going to be probably significantly bigger, I would say. And if we're saying that the best route for Michelle to win this fight is grappling, does that give you any pause that, she's most likely going to be the significantly smaller person in there?
Yeah, I got to think that Rodriguez is going to have a significant size advantage. Probably fairly big.
Okay. What would you guess on it? How many pounds?
10 to 15.
10 to 15.
You know what I mean? Maybe not. With the girls, 10, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to say because I don't know where, Waterson's filled out from, and they're smaller. The smaller they are, the less they cut. The less they cut, the less they put back on. So, and it may not, and it's not necessarily weight either. You know what I mean? Like size, bone density, all these things like that plays a role. So like, I do think that I'll say this. I think Rodriguez is going to be the more dense, stronger fighter, and probably a small size advantage. I say big, but I just think she's used to fighting bigger girls and being bigger, where Waterson's cut down to 105 before. However, I normally I would be like the bigger person, that I think that favors in the grappling. However, in 25 minutes, man, that's a long time to throw a kick and get tripped and, or fall over. That's a long time to make a mistake. And I do agree with Nick that if Waterson is able to get on top of her, there could be some serious problems on the ground. So that's one thing that I don't, if I'm looking this from a betting perspective, I don't like that line because of that. 25 minutes is a long time to fall over. You know what I mean? Like catch a kick or, whatever the case, maybe trip and fall. Like, you see it every week. There's something happens where somebody just accidentally falls over, especially in 25 minutes. And I do feel like that if Waterson gets on top, there could be some real problems.
Yeah. And I will say, just to kind of close up this conversation about the matchup, and I want to give credit to Jessica Penne. She was the one who told me this. We were talking about this matchup, and she said that one thing I'm going to be interested to see is how Michelle tries to take Marina down, because she typically is sort of like an upper body wrestler. She's not your classic, go for the legs. She likes to do those throws, and when she's going to be dealing with somebody who, like, basically what you're saying, James, is that she's just more physical. It's not necessarily just the weight; it's the frame. It's just the physicality of Marina. Trying to grab her with a body lock and wrestle, just drag her to the floor as the smaller person. Well, I want to see what her wrestling strategy is.
It's going to be a tough style of wrestling. I agree 100%. We've talked about this before in the past, the different styles of wrestling and how they equate, but I do agree that Waterson's style of wrestling is going to be really difficult to get down a bigger, stronger girl. I do agree with that.
So based on everything that we just said and what Michelle's game plan might be, Nick, what can you tell us about where this, do you have a total on this fight? And then do we have a lean on either side of that?
We do. It's 4.5 rounds over -215. So you're getting dog money at around plus, let me double check here. It's probably plus 185-ish. Yes, plus 185 on the under. So -215 on the over, plus 185 on the under, 4.5 rounds. I mean, again, durability is usually there in the ladies' fights. We know that they're tough. They're going to bring it. Cardio is usually not an issue either in most cases. So typically speaking, it probably will go over. And again, the toughness that Waterson has showed, she can take a beating, man. I mean, she gets marked up,
Yep.
she handles it pretty well though. So I think that on that end, she could probably take the punishment that Rodriguez is going to dish out, but it's still a long time to go, right? I mean, 4.5 rounds overlaying minus 215. I don't think there's a lot of value there either.
Yeah.
With the weight difference, Rodriguez being bigger, it being at 125 over the course of five rounds, and Rodriguez has real one punch power in that division. I don't like it. You know what I mean? I don't think there's much value there either.
To go over, you're saying?
Yeah,
correct.
I mean, it should go over, but again, you're willing to risk 2 times your money. I don't think that's a good bet.
Yep. I want to get you guys' best bets here in a second, but just real quickly, one thought each on just because I'm the host of the show, so I can take it wherever I want. And I like this Geoff Neal Magny fight. So I just want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on it. The line I saw this morning was Geoff Neal was a favorite minus 185, Neal Magny plus 165. We know that Neal Magny has been a guy who's cashed underdog tickets in the past. What do you guys think about this matchup? I like both these guys.
Go ahead, Nick.
Well, the line opened Geoff Neal minus 250, and it's been bet down right now over at Circa. We got about minus, let me see here. Right now it's minus 190. So for minus 250 market wide down to minus 190, minus 200 right now is the betting market. A lot of respect on Neal Magny, obviously. I mean, Geoff Neal is a tremendous fighter. I mean, obviously he's coming off of a setback, but that was a pretty solid fight, and he got tested. I mean, Stephen Thompson is just an outstanding striker, the best striker in that weight class, obviously. He's proven it time and time again. So not necessarily a bad loss. But Neal Magny has had success against strikers in the past. So I think a lot of the bettors out there are looking at the stylistic matchup and what Magny brings to the table, which he's going to slow this fight down. He's going to look to grapple. He's going to look for the takedowns. Even though Geoff Neal is very difficult to take down and keep down, I mean, the way he drapes himself on your body against a cage and looking for those constant takedowns, he stifles your offense to the point where it's tough to do much against him. So I think that's why people are seeing value on Neal Magny. The other side of it, though, Geoff Neal is the better striker. Magny's been chinny in the past. We've seen that time and time again. So I wouldn't be surprised if Geoff Neal has a lot of success if he can keep the space. So again, as the price drops, maybe some value opens up on the favorite, but I think the value on the underdog is kind of going away at this point.
Man, I just can't get over the blatant disrespect that Neal Magny gets. It's crazy to me that this dude is just a constant underdog. I'm not saying he's going to win this fight, but God, he can't. I mean, to open up it was Neal was minus 250. What was the plus side on that?
Like plus 210.
That's crazy to me. I mean, Magny has been in there with the who's who of that division, and Neal has pretty much decimated everybody other than Wonder Boy. But it's like there's an elite group in that division that kind of sets himself apart. Mm-hmm. And Magny is a guy that takes those guys, and man, I feel like he's constantly disrespected on these betting lines, and it's crazy to me. All that being said, Geoff Neal is the type of guy that tends to give Neal Magny problems. If this fight was 25 minutes rather than 15 minutes, man, that plus money on Magny looks prettier and prettier by the second, but it's not. I don't know if he's going to be able to slow Geoff Neal down, enough to really capitalize on that. It's a tough matchup for me, man, but I just can't believe that Neal Magny is just constantly disrespected on these lines. The plus 210 it's nuts to me, man. Like that would force me to bet that. You know what I mean? Like he's so good at slowing fights down. Like Nick was saying, putting people on the fence, slowing them down, making Neal Magny is great at making people fight him. Like you're going to fight him for 15 minutes and it's going to be a dog fight and we're going to see whose cardio is better. And he does such a good job of that. However, Neal is the stylistic matchup, like the Ponzinibbio type explosive striker that's got good takedown defense. That's the style that Geoff Neal brings to the table. But man, every time I watch Neal Magny come out, he gets better. He gets better every single time out. So, man, I'm really interested in this fight. This is, I don't think anything would surprise me in this fight. You know, I could see Neal coming out and smoking Magny. I could see Magny putting him on the floor and subbing him. Like, you know what I mean? It's a very widespread fight for me, and I'm excited for that one.
I agree. It's a tough fight to bet It should be a fun, interesting fight to watch because we're going to find out stuff. I think about Geoff Neal. I think if you're going to try and bet this fight, it really comes down to, because it's interesting. Nick, I always talk about this where I say I love this idea of like overreaction, and I thought that maybe Geoff Neal losing in the manner in which he did to Wonder Boy, that he might come in with a little bit of value, but really not. I mean, he really came in still as a minus 250 against a veteran, a well-rounded guy like Neal Magny, which just shows how high people are on Geoff Neal, because that was a classic situation where you're like, hey man, that was just a bad matchup that he had against Wonder Boy. So maybe there'll be some value on him. I don't see any value on a minus 250, but to your point, if people keep just going crazy on Neal Magny, you might be able to find some money on Geoff Neal if you're a Neal believer, which I think there are people who really believe that this guy could be a champion, or they think, hey, he's a really good welterweight, but he hasn't shown that type of caliber yet. So super interested in that particular matchup. Okay, I've rambled long enough. Let's get to your guys' best bets. Might as well start with a hot hand. We got to give it. The floor is yours, James Krause. I mean, we're betting give us like 6-7 picks here, man. Let's win some money this weekend.
I got to be honest with you guys. I'm really nervous about this week. This is a really tough card, man. I think this card, more than any other card this year, the lines are the closest that they've ever been. There's not any like glaring, there's usually one fight every card where I'm like, that's the one. That's the one. I don't have that this week. All that being said, I'm going to go with Marcos de Lima over Maurice Green. I just think de Lima is I think he's got the heavy hand to put Green down. I think he's got the grappling to kind of stifle the clinch. He's an explosive. He's got very good hand speed at heavyweight. I think he has more ways to win this fight. It's a little heavy at minus 200, but I do like him winning this fight. Yeah, that's my play. I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous this week though. I'm a little nervous. I think I'm on 7 in a row, maybe. I think I'm on 7 in a row, but I think I'm nervous this week.
You know what they say about the champions, man. The target on your back, the throne.
It's hard. My back is sore, man. It's sore. It's sore.
Don't let it get to you. Don't let it get to you.
It's sore.
All right, Nick, what do you got for us this week?
All right, this is going to be probably a head scratcher to some, especially because we just saw a similar type of fight go down with Dariush and Fajeda. But I'm going to take Fajeda over Gregor Gillespie. Diego Fajeda at the plus money, plus 155. I know James put his head down here. I mean, again, the path to victory last time was obviously there for Dariush getting the takedowns, and that's been a problem for Fajeda. And I realized Gillespie, that's what he goes to. That's his bread and butter. He's such an amazing wrestler, such an amazing grappler. But I mean, we're buying right now at a good price. Fajeda is the better mixed martial artist. You can say what you want about Gillespie's wrestling, which is better, but the submission game for Fajeda, he's the better finisher on the ground, even if it's going to be tough or not with Gillespie trying to get top control there. He's a better striker on the feet as well, and he's been in there with a lot of good fighters, obviously, historically. Gillespie's still kind of, in my opinion, trying to prove himself to be in that upper tier of fighters where Fajeda is already there. So to me, if you're getting Fajeda at plus 155, he's got that finishing ability. I don't think it's going to be an easy night's work for Gillespie. Plus, we're seeing Gillespie come off the first devastating loss of his career. He's been out for over a year. So I'm not sure where Gillespie is at this point. He's not getting any younger. I mean, both these guys are not, spring chickens, let's face it. But at the same time, I cannot pass up on the Fajeda dog price at plus 155 when I think the line's a little bit overinflated because he just got out grappled. So this line should be a little bit lower. So I'm going to chase the value on Fajeda. Not going to be a popular opinion, but I think that's the way to go here.
James, did he win you over at all?
I don't disagree with anything he said. But my rebuttal to that would be I like Fajeda a lot. I think he's really, really good. I do, however, feel like this matchup for him is extremely difficult stylistically. When I've seen Beneil Dariush out grapple, out wrestle him twice in a row now. When I look at somebody like Gillespie, I just can't imagine a scenario where Fajeda is able to dictate where this fight takes place. The only thing that I'm thinking is Gillespie's had a year off. I know that he's been dealing with injuries within that year off. The only thing that I can possibly think of is like he kind of wears him out, because Fajeda is a huge lightweight. He puts his body on and wears him out a little bit. But I'm telling you right now, if these guys go and open mat wrestle, this is going to be a shutout. It will not be. It will not be a close. It won't be a close fight. I don't think Fajeda has what it takes to submit him from his back. The only way I see Fajeda imposing his will is if he puts him on the fence, puts his big body on him, and that's what Fajeda does. He's good at that, right? Like he's done that many times before. He fought Pettis very similar. He needs to fight Gillespie the same way he fought Pettis. The only difference is Pettis is a lot easier to push back than Gillespie is. If they clinch up in the open mat, I see Gillespie being the far superior grappler. Fajeda's probably a little cleaner on the striking, and but coming off his first career loss and knockout, I don't think Gillespie's gonna. I don't think he's gonna strike much. I think he's gonna put Fajeda on his back, and I think he's gonna just be the leech that he is, man. I see Gillespie winning this one. I don't necessarily think it's gonna be pretty. I think Fajeda's really good. I think stylistically, this is a really difficult matchup for him, though.
At a coin flip, I agree. I mean, you got to go with Gillespie probably grinding out a decision win here, right? But at plus 155, that's not a coin flip, so I got to take the value here. So
I don't disagree with that. I'm not. So this is the difference. Like, you're looking at value, I'm looking at who's going to win the fight. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I think it's a little bit more than a coin flip, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I'm not even mad at the play. Like, I like the play because you're right. He's good and very well. I think he's for sure the more tested athlete here in terms of matchup. So if you can get him at plus money, I'm not mad at it at all. I just think, like, when I look at these guys stylistically, stat for stat, I just think that it's a really, really difficult fight for him to win, right? Against a guy that's a far superior wrestler than him, that's able to dictate where the fight takes place. Because I feel like Fajeda needs to get this fight to the ground to win. And I don't think he's going to be able to do that.
Possibly. I think if he keeps it in space, he can do some damage on the feet. I mean, he's got knockout power. And again, Gillespie, I don't know how he's going to be able to take some of those strikes. And then that guillotine choke that he has, I mean, if Gillespie's shooting in, you never know. With that technique and the power that these guys have, a lot of times, once you're locked in there, you can't get out no matter how good you are. So your sub-D is a lot of times, especially at that level, I think. So there's going to be opportunities.
My second best bet is Gregor Gillespie. Let's go.
That's right.
Let's go.
I like that.
Let's go.
We got competing best bets now. You know what? You guys are going back and forth too much. I'm going to have to talk with these boys afterwards. But if it means a best bet, competing best bet for Nick, then I will take all of the back and forth. All right. So I
put lunch on it, Nick. Next time I'm in Vegas, I got lunch on it.
Let's do it. I'm down for that. All right.
I got lunch on it.
Love it. So we got a few best bets out there for this weekend. One of them is a competing one. Are you on James' side? Are you on Nick's side? I love the back and forth. We'll see who's right, and we'll be back here to talk about it and the big pay-per-view in Houston next week. So come see us again next week. Take care.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.